Use ArcSite to create a takeoff schedule, bill of material, material list, whatever you want to call it. But very simply create a list of information based on what you're seeing on site. In this video, I'm going to show you how to do so. This video also presupposes you've already set up an environment in ArcSite. That's a different video. But in this case, I'm going to show you how to use it in the app itself. Starting with a PDF here of a floor of this facility, and I'm going to do two types of takeoff. First one is using our reusable shapes. So I'm going to go and open up my shapes group by tapping on that icon. It's going to bring it up, and down here at the bottom you can see there's a couple of different options for viewing. So I'm going to use my categorized shapes. In this case I'm going to start with a lighting. I've opened up my recess can bucket here, and I'm going to drop one in. Once I've done that, I immediately am starting to create my what we call shape takeoff list. You can see that I've dropped one in. I've got a quantity of 1. Had I given it a price, it would have automatically determined that. But the next thing I'm going to do is while this is selected, I'm going to come over to my attributes button and answer some more questions about this instance. In this case, I've defined some what we call instant attributes that I can then fill in about this one. In this case, I'm going to pick a technology, the mounting surface, etc., etc. I can keep adding in as much information, including photos, and save those off. Now when I come back to that display of the takeoff, you can see that there's some more information listed. In this way I can very quickly add shapes to my visual, my map, and indicate attributes about them so that while I'm building out my visual map, I'm also building out that list. Now I'm going to take the same one that I've already added to the screen and make a copy of it. I do so by pressing down on the icon right at the bottom and dragging it over to someplace else and letting go. So what I've done now is that in my takeoff I have 2 items. Everything that was already defined on the previous one will be defined on this new one, except a photo. So if I come in here, I can see, click on the attributes button, you can see I've got the same questions answered here. If I come here to the top, I can see that. And we're going to talk about getting the final export as Excel or PDF a little farther down the line. But this sort of covers at a high level the ability to take a shape that's already had some questions defined, open up, take that shape and drop it in, and then define attributes. As I mentioned at the beginning, there's actually 2 types of takeoffs that you can perform here in ArcSite. That's the shape-based takeoff, which makes sense for individual objects that you're going to be dropping in the screen. But you may also want to collect on an area or a cumulative length of something. And for that, we're going to use the other takeoff, the area length-based takeoff. So I'm going to show you how to do that in a couple of different ways. Let's say I want to draw some sort of electrical line or some sort of information that's linear based. I'm going to take my draw tool and just drag a line across. Now I have 14 feet of that, but now I want to define that as a particular object. So I'm going to select it, just like I did with the shape options. I'm going to come to Attributes and tap on it. And here at the top, I'm going to say assign a type to it. So it's showing all the ones that I've set up. In this case, only making active the ones that are length-based. This is where my example breaks down. I don't have one set up here as a electrical line. However, in, say, a landscaping context, you might want to put in edging. The unit is by foot, and there's a price here. So I'm just going to tap on edging and add it. And by doing so, that 14 feet has now been priced out and added to the list. If I want to add more information, just like I did with the shapes, I can come to that line, the edging line, and tap the edit button. And it's going to open up that same similar dialog, and I can now add my individual instance properties. Now that I've done that, I can come back to the top and see it under this area length-based takeoff, and there it is. Just like I did with the shape, I could also make a copy of it. In that case, I now have 2 entries into Takeoff. So that's the length-based. Now let's talk about an area-based thing. Let's say that I want to get an area of this room 13. And I'll start with my polygon tool to define that area of this room so I can use it. That's good enough for right now. I have 21 square feet there. What I can do now, it's just like I did with the line, I can select it to make it active, come over to my attributes, pick assign type. In this case, everything that's square footage based will show up. In this case, let's say I want to put in carpet there. I'm going to define that, and there I go. Now, one last time, if I come up here and look, I have both those pieces collected. That does it for in the app side. Now let's go over to website portion to see what the output is. Before I leave here, though, I want to go ahead and click on the cloud icon in the top right corner. So this information, the visual, the takeoff, everything gets uploaded to the cloud. So now we're going to switch over to the user site. It's at this address. And what I'm going to show here is how to get that takeoff information that we just created on the app. Here's that project. Within, I can see I have that one drawing that we were working on. I can click on it to bring it up. And at this point, I have a lot of options. I can download an individual version of the drawing itself in a variety of formats. I can come to the Shape Takeoff tab and export the takeoff we just did in the app. I can export it as a PDF or an Excel. Also, if I had taken any photos, I could click in here to see them and download them as a zip file. I can also come here to the geometry takeoff to get the area and the length-based work. Same way, export as PDF or Excel. Or I can download everything from this drawing that I want at the same time. Now, I didn't do any forms, and so these check boxes don't matter. In the drawing, I can pick PDF or this other formats. The takeoff options, I just want Excel. I didn't have any photos, whatnot. So I click this button and it'll send me an email with a link to download all of that zipped up together. And here is the email I received with the link to go download that package.